You're listening to Little Pricks Podcast. We're so happy you're here. Get comfortable and enjoy the episode.
All right, guys, this is Fareed.
I'm Devon.
We have Devon right here, and today's topic is going to be a little bit off of our usual format. It's going to be more of a debate style.
Yeah.
Things may go off the rails a little bit, and that's okay.
No, they do go off the rails. I'm going to let you guys know that right now. I think that this is definitely off our normal format, but you guys are going to want to stick around to the end because you are going to be very surprised how this ends up going. I'm happy to say that it went well. I'm happy to say that I learned a lot personally. I think we both learned a lot, but this episode is going to be a very good example of some conversations that I think everybody can stand to have. And we're excited to see what you guys think about it. So Before we get started, just make sure that if you're not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button, like or dislike, either way. We want to know how you guys feel about these topics.
Like more than anything else, but
No, if you dislike
and give us your feedback.
Give us a dislike, give us your feedback, email us at littleprickspod@gmail.com. And without further ado, let's get into the episode.
Sounds good. Strawberry mango?
Is that yuzu mandarin?
Just makes me uncomfortable how much you like to smack your hands.
I need to sync the audio and video.
I mean, whatever you say it is, man. It just sounds like a man wanting to hit something.
So are we switching back now? Is this what's happening?
I don't know.
You reclaiming your headphones?
I think so, yeah.
That's all right. Let's make sure you can hear both of us.
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Got that fixed up. So there's a couple people now that have noticed that hate comment. I go on that one TikTok.
Oh, really?
The one where I was like, oh, you always have a choice. And the guy said, and bro chose to look like that.
And what have they said?
People were just like, wow, who was it? They're like, do you know that person? I said, no. Absolute, complete, and total stranger.
That guy was not very nice.
Oh, it's the internet, man. I don't take it. The internet's a big joke, right? Like you can't sit there and take the internet too seriously, or you will be a very sad person.
This is true.
But
it's just sad that you got the first hate.
Oh, come on. It had to be me. Frida, you remember the outfit I was wearing? I'll just splice a little piece here. Like, come on. Of course I'm the one that got the hate, man. I'm outside the norm. I'm not the clean cut, wearing a nice suit jacket this morning.
It was cold out. Ready? Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm
ready. Oh, Lord.
That really does something for you, huh?
It really does.
Oh, no.
Today, we don't have our usual.
The liquid death. We have Tarjay brand, which I would argue is better.
So you get Liquid Death for not sponsoring us.
Yeah, well, here's the issue, too. Like
they had 6 episodes. They tried.
Right. Yeah. We've basically shouted out Liquid Death in every episode.
They've gotten at least 100 views.
Right. We've gotten at least 100 views.
For free.
We could at least get 2 free cans a week.
Something.
We've
actually paid them at this point.
Right, yes. Right, exactly. But no, the budget was definitely blown out of the water for Liquid Death. I could not sustain... Outside of the podcast, I was just drinking so much sparkling water because I don't drink soda. I don't drink alcohol. Like, I just don't drink anything really but water. So it's nice to have something different, some substance once in a while.
I thought you were going to say with me. You're like, no, I can't afford to give you Liquid Death and myself.
Right. But no, these are actually, they're pretty good. And they don't have, like, the aspartame and all the different things in them. Like, it's literally just...
I like the aspartame, sir. I don't know what you're complaining about.
I'm trying to put less terrible things into my organs,
I think our bodies are built to handle it.
Nope, wrong. I just spent the past 30 minutes this morning in the bathroom fighting for my life after eating some Little Caesars. I've had enough. I'm never eating that again.
Did you wreck
I was
yourself?
fighting for my life in there.
So you had Little Caesars last night.
Yes. And
Okay.
it was very, it's pizza. Who the fuck doesn't like pizza? But, dude, I'm telling you,
Little Caesars
it
pretty good pizza too.
liquefied my organs.
No, okay. I'm going to correct you. It wasn't Little Caesar that did it to you. It was pizza in general that did it to you. And I'll explain.
I don't think so, man. I don't struggle with other pizzas.
How much of the pizza did you eat?
I ate like 2 slices of pepperoni.
That's it?
Yeah, and a couple cheese sticks.
Okay. It's the sudden attack of fat.
Oh, fair.
That's what does it. Because whenever I do that to myself, like I actually use that as a method of cleansing. Like, hey, I feel like it's been a while. Let's treat myself to something fatty. It's just you hit your body with just a sudden amount of like greasy fat right to the toilet.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't Little Caesar's fault. Let's not blame them for
Follow
this.
Fareed for more health tips.
No. Not a health tip, not advice. I'm just saying I've noticed it. It clearly happened to you. It's a thing.
All right, buddy. Well, where does this bring us?
I'm only fighting for this because I think at some point I want us to have Little Caesars.
Oh, God.
Mod is great pizza.
Mod does have great pizza.
Better, though.
Really? Ew.
It's the cheese they use,
It's just Munster. Munster and yeah.
which they don't use at Mod.
I don't know what they probably use. Just straight. Oh, they probably use a cheese blend, I'm sure. Not just straight mozzarella.
Go look at their blend. It's straight mozzarella.
Huh. Okay.
We've been there.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. My name's
Hello.
Devon.
This is Fareed.
You're listening to Little Pricks Podcast. We're glad to have you back for another episode. We ran out of Liquid Death sparkling water,
And
so we are now sponsoring. We're not sponsored. We're just sponsoring the Good and Gather unsweetened sparkling water from Target. And I'm not gonna lie,
That's Target for you city folk.
pretty great, pretty fucking great, buddy. I really enjoy
It's good stuff.
this. I really enjoy that it doesn't cost me $15 a case. This is $3.29 a case. Dude, it was bad.
You were paying 5 times more?
It was a lot. It was a lot.
To be fair, it is half the can size.
Sure, but,
5 times more?
dude. I mean, they were humongous cans, right? They were like 19 point whatever.
Yeah, the
fluid ounce.
recycling agency you take those cans to was like, oh my god, this guy's great.
Right. Yeah. But it's okay. I'm feeling good about these. This one's the Mandarin. Yuzu Mandarin. Hello.
Hello there and good morning. Devon's not awake.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. What flavor is yours? Maybe you can pronounce
He's
it.
still fighting for his life. He may be right in front of us, but his soul is still in the bathroom.
Bro. Little Caesars and me have some beef right now.
Did it have beef?
No.
Then
well,
you guys have pork.
Yeah. Pepperoni.
Yeah.
Yeah, pepperoni had a little mix there. All right, man. So
Today's topic.
Last
What is it,
week
Devin?
we did the Love Series, episode 2. If you guys haven't seen that yet, please go check that out. It's a series we started back in, I believe, December. It was the third week of December, 22nd maybe.
Conceived before that, but yes.
Yeah, and that is going to be a 4-part series. So we are on officially part 2. And go check that out if you haven't already. Today we are talking about.
So today's topic is more of a thought. It is the question is, does every hardship or situation that you struggle or suffer through, does that have to bring some sort of growth or lesson?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, basically, to summarize, is all that an opportunity for growth? Is every single milestone, is every single hardship, every hurdle, it's a perspective, right? Like, this is a topic and a debate on perspective.
I think it's more of a debate.
That's fair. This is
Yeah,
going to be a debate
yeah.
for sure, because I think you're on an opposite side of the spectrum of
100%.
it. And I'm on the side of, like, no, every opportunity or every hardship doesn't have to be an opportunity for growth. It can be. I'm not making the statement that it can't be. I'm saying that, like, Jesus, sometimes it's okay to just do what you need to do to get through it. I made the analogy here at the beginning that it's like an oil change on your car, right? Versus upgrading the entire engine. Like, it's not always about making your car the best it can be and upgrading a whole new engine or throwing a Whipple supercharger on it, like an oil change. So I can drive another 5,000 to 10,000 miles. That's all I need. I just need an oil change, buddy. I don't need upsell a damn engine,
You're getting a Whipple.
Yeah, you're getting a Whipple. Fareed owns a car shop, so I think that analogy maybe hit a little too close to home. You're getting a Whipple supercharger, pal.
All I hear is.
Yep. That's funny. The people who like don't know cars are gonna be like, "What?"
That's the sound a supercharger makes, and it makes guys like us very happy.
It's such a different sound, man. Like I almost like the sound of a supercharger better than a turbo.
Depends.
The turbo's pretty sweet, but like
the moment you drive up,
on like a Hemi V8, just a Whipple supercharger just sounds.
Just remember that moment you get to the stoplight, and you're like, "Oh, it's in there. You want to race?" And then you hear, vroom, vroom, whoop. I changed my mind.
Changed my mind.
Never mind.
I would put one in a minivan.
I almost bought a Canadian Chrysler Town and Country that had been turbocharged.
Wow.
With a turbo so large, they just cut a hole in the hood
Nice.
for $3,000. It was on the news.
Perfect.
So that's Devin's point of view.
Right. That is
my
point
argument or point of view is, yes, every situation can or should be used to either grow, accept, or learn something. Everything is an opportunity. Whether you take it or not, it's a different situation, but everyone is.
And I don't really so much disagree with that, I'll be honest. And it is. And I think that your perspective on it like really kind of dictates how that goes for you. You know, I'm not saying that every hardship isn't an opportunity. I'm just saying that it doesn't have to be. You don't have to take that time to, you know, reflect and have all of this perspective and read between the lines and draw conclusions that are in the positive versus just neutral or negative. They're allowed to be negative, but more so neutral, you know.
I think the point is, for me, that you just mentioned, it is exactly about perspective.
Oh,
right?
sure. No doubt.
I'm not saying you have to immediately learn the lesson or take something from it, but your perspective, how you deal with a situation is so tremendously important. Because let's say you go into something such as, you know, you got an unexpected bill, or you got, you know, your car breaks down.
Like I was saying, we can stick to the car analogy. I think that's going to fit
surprisingly
well.
I think there's a few analogies we could use here. But
Yeah.
let's say you have an unexpected bill, your car breaks down, or you have an unexpected struggle or issue with another person, right? Your perspective is what's going to get you through that situation in a good manner or a negative manner. So, and perspective is what gives you
control. I would argue. It gives you control.
Sure, but it gives you the result, the outcome, how it's going to be, right? So if you go into it saying like, I'm not here to learn something, I just need to get through it and move on, right? You're almost putting a negative spin on it. Like, it's just a rough situation. I want to move in and get out.
I see what you're saying on that. I think it's also a situation where you give yourself permission to feel those feelings and permission to like not have to be strong through that situation or not have to like muscle through it and get through it. Like you can just be like, hey, I'm going to do what I need to do. If it means that like, you know, I go get my nails done, or I go out and buy my favorite drink, my Liquid Death, and I spend the $15 on it. If I go out, or I just stay home, even if it's not about going out and doing something, it's that I just sit in my chair, watch my TV, listen to my favorite music, read my favorite book, and just rot in my chair in my living room. That's okay. Like I don't have to go digging for all these answers and uproot the very deepest source of this situation or this feeling. I can just get through it.
I think that's also still about perspective though, right?
Sure.
You can give it a positive spin, right, and say, I'm going to accept that I'm going to suffer through this a little bit,
right,
but I'm going to come out of it swinging, right? Because if you go into it saying like, hey, it's time to lick some wounds and that's okay, and I need to understand and feel what I'm going to feel, that's you exercising your strength. That's you exercising. That's you still taking a lesson out of that, man.
That's fair.
Like,
that's
no matter
fair.
what you do, you have the choice of how you deal with it, right? Like, I'm going to sit here on this couch and I'm going to just be.
Yeah.
And that's you still practicing something. That's you practicing patience with yourself. That's still you practicing accepting that things happen and that it doesn't have to break you.
It's not a bad point, man. I would be curious to see what you guys think. So if you haven't taken the opportunity yet, we really love hearing from you guys. So if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, you can comment below the video. You can also email us at littleprickspod and just, what do you guys think? Because I see what you're saying, Fareed. You're making good points. Not that you're not. I just think that, man.
I think your point is that sometimes you can just surrender.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I think that
not even like necessarily surrender. It's just like you don't have to face everything head on and just go on this journey of discovering what every little detail and what every little emotion is coming from and why you feel that way and how you're going to fix it or change it, alter it in the future and in the moment moving forward. Like you can just be like what you were talking about, just sitting in your chair and just be. That's it. Like, you don't have to revisit it later. Like, it's okay to put stuff on the shelf once in a while. Like, you don't have to read every book in the library at once. It's and that's actually a good analogy for me. And maybe that's why I feel this way about this topic is like, I can't be reading multiple books at once. A lot of people can, like, especially people that are just avid book readers. They'll be reading a few at a time. No, pass. I'm one at a time. The rest of the books are on the shelf until I'm done with this one.
I think this still comes down to your perspective of things.
Yeah.
Your perspective is I have to deal with every situation the exact same way. It's I need to go tackle it head on and to learn a bunch of stuff and fix everything immediately. And my argument simply is no. You simply take a look at every situation, find the opportunity in it, and it doesn't have to be a big one, right? You change your perspective, you change the narrative, and you make it work for you. And that can be something as simple as saying, I give up for right now, but I accept that, and I'm going to come back and understand that I'm doing something good for myself. I'm still practicing something. I'm just not going to go look for this giant journey of a thing. The opportunity in that situation was to say, it's okay to feel, and I'm practicing allowing that to happen right now. You're still learning something. You're still benefiting from it, right?
Yeah, that's fair, man. Yeah.
You know, I had someone bring up the argument, Derek, which will be on the podcast at some time soon.
I was gonna say, when, man? Oh,
He's got a hard life. He's got a really hard life, and he's got to squeeze it in, right? But that's why his perspective will be helpful. His perspective was, well, sometimes you can't control things, such as a death, right? A death is something you can't control. It just kind of happens to you.
Right.
And I would argue that's an even better situation in which you can take a spin on it and benefit from it.
Okay.
Right? You look at a death, and you can just say, well, this sucks. And great, now it sucks. But you've chosen that. Or you can say, this is awful, this sucks, this is really unfortunate, but man, I'm going to take this time to celebrate that person's life.
Yeah, and I can see what you mean by that perspective because, you know, even at my own funeral, in my own friends and family, I'm like, I've told them all, don't you dare sit around, have some kind of pity party and sob your eyes out, dude. If I bite the dust, you better be having a party and putting the most embarrassing shit up on the screen and laughing and enjoying all of the things and all the memories that you had with me. And and just carrying on, laughing, having a good time, poke fun, be like, oh, that guy, man, he's such a goofball.
That's a beautiful perspective. I would encourage you to be careful when you tell people that.
Why?
Because they're not just crying because of you. They're crying because they no longer have you.
Well, sure. No. Yeah, it's not that. No tears allowed. Big banner in the center of the freaking
I brought my bodyguard to make sure nobody's crying.
Right. They just, like, somebody starts to cry, they start to unhold it. Like, yeah. Suck the tears in.
God, that guy was a cocksucker.
Right.
Even in death.
No. People are allowed to cry. I just mean, like, don't have a pity party, man. Don't be sitting around and visiting my grave all the time. Like, you know, maybe once in a while go there and you know.
So what you're saying is that even in your death, people should look at it as an opportunity to celebrate.
Yeah.
And take something good away from it.
Right. For sure. But that's different, right? You know. It is. I see how you're trying to, like, be more concise about it, but
I just don't see how when you use perspective and you use that as the base root of how you know, that's what it is. You have to have a perspective on stuff.
What I'm saying is that you don't have to apply it to every situation. You're applying it to a situation of death or something huge where you realistically don't have much choice but to apply perspective and but to be introspective with that situation. Because, with the death, you sit around and don't deal with that and be like, oh, I'll just get through it. Yeah, probably not wise. Not super wise.
My point is any situation.
Right, you're saying any.
Oh, my God, I had a paper cut. right?
Yeah.
Tiny, minute thing shouldn't take up more than a minute or two of your life, right?
Right.
Ah, that was unfortunate. And you can say, man, that really sucks. This, F that, right?
Yeah.
Or you can just say, got it. Won't do that one again.
Right.
That one was kind of shitty. Okay, cool. And you move on. But you now shifted the narrative, right? Instead of, God, this was terrible, that was awful, it just hurts and stings. Okay, I won't do that again. It's
Okay.
all about your perspective, right?
Sure, man. Sure.
Because what you're saying, if I'm understanding correctly,
I don't think so, but it's okay. Go ahead.
well, from what I'm understanding from you, and if not, maybe you need to clarify, it's that sometimes you can just sit there and say, excuse me, hold on.
At least you're not coughing so much. Maybe these things are working. These sparkling
Or I'm
waters are better.
healing. From what I'm understanding that you're saying is sometimes you just let things be.
Yeah, let things be, man. You don't have to sit with everything for every moment until you figure out exactly where it came from. And like sometimes you can just, let me put it to you in another way.
Yes, that would help.
You are able to be the observer of your feelings and not have to absorb them all. You can simply be an observer, and let a thought, a feeling simply pass through you. Acknowledge that it's there, sure. But you don't have to sit and dig so damn deep and absorb every substance that enters your body, emotionally speaking.
I agree that you don't have to sit there and draw out a journey for every situation, right? I do, however, disagree that you can just sit there and observe. But don't say it was me. My feet didn't move. That was you.
Fareed is very sprawled out over here, and I just moved my foot and just played footsies with him. Oh my!
It was the look on his face. It was like,
Oh God!
Like, yes, sir, I too have feet.
Right.
What was I saying? My argument is
yes, Devon, you're right. I understand your perspective now. No, but it's polarizing, right? Like it is what it is. You and I, at certain times, are going to have
disagreements,
completely 180 perspectives. So.
My retort to you is,
yeah,
you can't simply sit there and observe something without changing it. That's like that's just a physical law. You can't observe something without changing it.
Okay.
And so by you even just saying, well, I'm just going to observe it from the outside, and like you can't. It's going to have an effect on you.
Speaking from like what would you call that? Would that be?
That's just physics.
That's what I was going to ask.
Physics, like you can't observe. Yeah, like.
Yeah, no, that is true. Simply observing something genuinely.
We have that in physics. We have that in anthropology. You can't observe something without making a change. So, again, my argument comes back to, you can't simply observe yourself in a situation and just let it be, right? It comes down to the base root, and the base root is always going to be the perspective you choose. Name a situation where you're like, well, I'm just going to feel. Great, you made a choice from a perspective. Now you have the choice on how that outcome comes out in, right?
I think that's where you have the choice more than having the feeling, realistically. The feeling comes. It's more like how you deal with it. That's the part.
How you look upon it and what you decide you're going to deal with it as, right? If you say, well, I'm just going to sit here and feel and sulk and whatever, right? You've chosen a negative perspective.
I think that's, no, I don't think anybody likes sit. I'm not saying that you can sit and just say, oh, I'm going to sulk. I'm saying that you don't have to sit in the meat of whatever you're feeling all the time and figure it out and see where it's coming from and do this like deep analysis and find a way to grow from it. Okay, we'll go back to the example where you talked about the unexpected death. Okay, well, you don't have to go revisit that where somebody just tragically died, ran off the road and crashed their car and died, and try to find some kind of perspective to grow from it. Not every hardship, not every situation has to be something that you grow from. That can just simply be like, damn, that's a bummer, and like that's it. That was a bummer. I'm not super thrilled that happened. It did happen. And, I'm not saying that you don't choose to, like, moving forward, make peace with that and, like, move on with your life and not let it, like, make you a miserable person in general because of it. I'm just saying that you don't have to go and revisit that and, like, stay on that and find some way to grow from it. Like, it's just like, I'm
And
just going to move on from that.
I would argue that if you don't revisit it and you don't take your chance to give it a positive perspective on it, you're going to give it a negative one. There's no way to just sit there and be like, it didn't affect me. There's no way,
just
right?
saying that, like, again, that you would, like, that unexpected death happened. You're like, damn, that was a bummer. And that's it. That's it. You know, like,
You are going to sit there and tell me that you could have an unexpected death and be like, man, that sucks, and just like stoically move on.
no, I'm saying
Because,
that
that
I
doesn't
don't
seem
have to
possible.
like find some way to like grow from that exponentially. You know what I mean? Like, I can make peace with that and like enjoy the memories that I had with that person. Or
By trying to make peace with it, you've chosen a perspective and you've exercised that ability. You've grown, you've benefited. It happens. It's either you choose it for it to suck or you choose to benefit from it. There's no zero. There's no neutral. There is no doing nothing. It's impossible to do nothing.
you're taking it as doing nothing, and that's not what it is. Like,
It's impossible to not get something out of it. It's just whether it's negative or positive. And it just comes down to the perspective you choose. I'm not saying you have to sit there and take that death and go and become a Tibetan monk while you process this, right? Which is
Right.
how you're taking it. Like, you don't have to sit there and delve into it.
Right.
You need to delve into something. You need to have a slight bit of processing.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have to be extensive,
Sure.
right? Like the processing could simply be, wow, that was really unfortunate, right? You've processed that.
Yeah.
Then the question becomes, how do you take it from there, right?
right.
It's going to go somewhere.
Yeah.
You got to pick which one it is.
Fair.
I think I fundamentally disagree with you in the sense of like, it doesn't have to be a thing.
Yeah.
It has to be a thing. It is a thing.
Right.
You can't simply make it not a thing. It's just what you interpret that thing to be now. Is it going to be positive? You can look at it and say, that was a really unfortunate event. I'm going to go hug a person I care about.
Right.
Or you can say, like, that was a
Treasure
really
list.
unfortunate thing. I'm going to sit here and sulk and cry about it, and I'm just going to be pissed off for the rest of this time.
Right.
What's up?
That thing's dead.
I told you.
Yeah, I said I had 53 minutes left.
No. These laptops always lie.
Yeah.
I have never had an electronic that was like, you have this much time left, and it, like, succeeded.
Huh.
My phone will be like, you have 5% left. You got, like, 30 minutes. I'm like, dead at 5%.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating. But yeah, I think that's the point of the situation. It gives you an opportunity to look at perspectives. And perspectives are going to dictate what you do with it, right? If
Sure.
your perspective is, you know what, I do need to take a journey on this, then you will.
But the perspective of not trying to take a deep dive and grow from it is also a perspective. It's just not one that necessarily like outwardly expresses itself. It's one that's more for like, you know, yesterday. Yesterday you took that time for yourself and like you weren't super productive and you didn't take that opportunity to be super productive and do the things that are on your to-do list and check those things off. Like, that's more so my point.
So then let's change this, right?
Maybe.
Maybe it's not so much that that nothing has to happen. Instead, we'll rephrase it to, not every situation has to be the start of this massive introspective journey,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes it can just be the practicing of a skill you already have.
Yeah, or just listening to yourself.
Yep.
Listening to yourself, taking that time for yourself to just not have to have a lot of things to do and to not have to put in all this work, be productive, get this end result.
Well, I'd pause that. You're always going to be productive in some way, shape, or form, right? You simply saying, you know what, I'm going to be kind to myself today. You were productive.
Right.
You were productive into feeding yourself.
Right.
It's
right.
just that
I
again,
mean productive in a tasky way, in a tasky of like checking off a to-do list or like a, you know, productive in like a consumerist mindset, productive in a sense of like, oh, I, you know, got done editing the podcast or I got done, or I, you know, posted something or of the nature. I sold this car part today, you know.
I think you're trying to make the point that it just doesn't have to be this long, drawn-out thing.
I think I don't like this topic.
You chose it.
I know. No, I'm just like, oh my God, damn. I'm like, one, I lost my notes. Two, I'm like, was it enough of an idea to have a topic on?
And maybe it's not.
It might not be.
Here you go.
No, it's we're past that now, buddy.
Okay.
Maybe not. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. What do you think?
I think it's
Like,
not
it's
a very light topic, right?
It's like light, and it's like I don't know if there's enough substance for us to have really had a good conversation about it.
Well, I
also think that it's worth having more than one person. Like, I'll be honest, like some of these topics I think just genuinely need more than just two people sitting at a table going back and forth. Like, we need a group of people to interject and like
I
be
think
like,
we needed Derek for this one.
we just need somebody, right? Like, and I don't like, and I'm not upset about that. Like, this is not like in the past where I'm like, fuck, this episode sucks, or like, like I'm like, damn it. Like, I'm just saying like, thinking out loud. I'm like, I don't know, man.
Did your idea on the topic change at all?
No,
You're still dead set on that one.
Yeah, dead set, because like we're you and me are on different playing fields, and like you and I, just you and me, we're not gonna get the point across that I want like the viewers to see.
Let's pause. I think the issue now is that we haven't effectively communicated what we actually think about it, and I think you haven't.
I think we have. I think it's just that like you're like, no, this like, no, you are productive, and it's like,
well, if you've noticed, the way I speak about it has changed consistently throughout this podcast.
Has it?
Yes, because we've reframed things. We've tried to identify what you're saying more, right? And I've tried to walk back certain things. I've been changing my thought process on it constantly,
right,
to kind of suit you a little bit better, so you can see my point of view.
And I do totally.
Right. Whereas, I want to ask you: are you sure that you're not being just dead set stuck on something, and maybe not being able to properly relay it to me?
I mean, I don't think so, but. You know, maybe. I think also just the disorganization. It's just like we've kind of just bantered. Like, it's hard for me to listen to. Like, without the structure.
You know what I think it is?
What's that?
We have a format. And this is one time we tried something different. It didn't follow the format. Right? And we've discussed this one before, actually. We're like, well, we have that format. It's really nice. But I wanted to try this to see how it went. And unfortunately, it didn't.
I just think it's not that. I just think, like, dude, this would be a really good one to do with more than one person.
But we need to have the format. This is actually a debate. This is actually a debate. And our conversations...
Maybe I just don't like debate. Maybe debates just annoy me. They remind me of, like, presidential debates. So, I just want to take a second to pause here, because as I'm sitting here and I'm editing this podcast, and I've really taken some time after the fact, you know, after we've recorded, to really reflect, because this episode was tough for me. I did not realize that the episode was going to go in this direction, and I didn't realize that some of these things from my past were going to rear their head. But you know, I want to take this time, and I'll kind of touch base on this later in the episode also, that, you know, this is the reason why it is good to have people in your corner who are going to have your best interest. And it's why, you know, being vulnerable in general and being your truest, most genuine self is such a necessity, because you'll find that people who genuinely have your best interest are going to call things out, right? Like, when you have an opportunity to grow, sometimes it's opportunities that you don't always see. And while I still do believe that there are times that it is necessary to, you know, just sit and be and give yourself permission to feel certain feelings and observe those feelings, and not have to go down the super long journey of finding out where that comes from and trying to grow from it, and trying to have this like big revelation from each and every little hurdle in your life. I still think also that it is important to realize that at any given moment, you have the ability, you hold the pencil and eraser that is capable of making changes in the way that you feel about things and that you think about things. And to make a long story short, and to get back to the episode here, I just want to give people reference that sometimes things from your past, or things that have like triggered you or traumatized you in your past, kind of like bleed over into your adult life and into other aspects of your life, and you don't quite realize it. So for me, it was my family arguing when I was a kid, you know, and everybody yelling and not really getting a turn, or people talking over each other, and really just like this ineffective communication, this back and forth of people talking in circles, when in reality, like when I'm reviewing this podcast and I'm looking at this, you know, this episode was fine. Fareed and I were communicating very effectively. Fareed was making good points, but I was slowly but surely getting triggered, and I was slowly but surely losing my patience with it. And anyway, so we'll get back to the episode. I just wanted to let you guys know that this is why it's important to have conversations like this. I love you guys. Like,
maybe, but we're not sitting
It reminds
here.
me of ineffective communication.
Well, we're not ineffectively communicating. The only ineffectiveness I'd say is potentially not completely understanding each other's point of view. And that's why I'm bringing it up right now, saying, hey, maybe we need to work on this and really define what you're trying to say. Because at no point have I heard you say, you know what, maybe you do have a good point on that one. And
I've definitely said that.
And like slightly change what you're saying. You've said you made good points, right? But you haven't said, like, maybe my thought process is changing, whereas I've actively just changed the idea and represented it to you. And that's where I want to question, like, are you sure that when you bring some of these topics, you're not already set that you're right?
It's not a bad point, man. I mean, I love that.
Because I've noticed something, that whenever we have these kinds of banters,
Yeah.
I do try to change the way I bring it up, or maybe the way it's thought out, and I try to change the idea. You always say no.
Really?
You've always been dead set that, nope, it is not correct.
Wow.
And I've been like, okay. And I've never mentioned it, but I think this one is finally the right time to mention it.
Maybe.
It feels a little closed-minded on your side.
That's fair. That's fair. And obviously I never want to be that way, so thanks for calling it out, man.
Man, this feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
this feels really good.
You needed that, huh?
I think I did, yeah.
You needed that. You need to call Devon out on that.
I did.
It's been frustrating you.
It's frustrating me.
Okay, great.
But
man.
I couldn't call you out because I didn't understand if maybe I wasn't being open-minded enough, or if I wasn't simply being smart enough to understand your point, or maybe you.
Well,
weren't
and that's
relaying it
hard,
to me.
right? Like
Yeah.
you have to sit and like analyze all those little things, and you have to break that down. You have to be introspective. You have to consider all the different outcomes, and you have to check yourself, right?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
You have to be like, you can't be that bull in a china shop where you're just bulldozing through everything. And hey,
I feel like
fair
this simple
enough.
topic,
Yeah.
where I've tried multiple times to relay my point and get you to properly verbalize yours, and you
Right.
just keep shutting me down. I
Right.
think that one finally gave me the evidence I needed. Like, no, I'm not crazy. I'm not always right.
Right.
But I'm not crazy that you're
Right.
just like, no,
I've just been
no.
gaslighting Fareed this entire episode. Just gaslighting the shit out of you. I don't know. No,
I think we should save this because it's good for something. Doesn't
I
have to
think
be
it's
an episode.
great.
Yeah.
No,
Maybe it's not an
I think it's
episode. I don't
fine.
know, but it's up to you.
No, I think, yeah, I would, yeah. I don't
We
know.
did learn something about ourselves,
We
though.
learned something about ourselves, and I don't give a shit, man. If that means that this doesn't air, or if that means that it's just something that personally we got done together, and I grew from it, and you got,
Well, it depends what your
you
perspective
got
on
to
it.
call me out. Yeah,
Do you
I
have
know.
to grow on this one? Do you have to take anything from it?
Yeah, well, sure. This is one of those situations where obviously, yeah.
I'm just being a dick.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Man, I don't know. I think maybe I will show it to a couple of people, and you show it to a couple of people. I'll edit it.
Okay.
You know, and if I can get it to come out as like a good episode, and I can get it to come out as something that's like tolerable to listen to, I just don't want it to be so back and forth and like disorganized that people are like,
You know
"God,
what
this
we'll
is
do?
awful to listen
Let's
to."
do this.
Yeah.
Can that be done?
What?
I was thinking, what if we upload it to YouTube and just keep it as private? But can we show it to anyone as private? I don't know.
I think.
I wonder if there's a
you
way to
can share a link. Maybe. I'll look into that.
Let's just edit this one, see where it goes.
Yeah,
I
no,
will
I'll
say,
edit it.
let's film another one tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to be safe.
Fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This one doesn't feel 100%.
Yeah.
This one was giving me the vibe that we weren't in the right place. Let's pick a new topic.
Mornings are tough. We don't usually record in the mornings, right?
No, they're rough on us, and you've been yawning the whole time.
Have I?
Yeah.
Fuck. I didn't even mean to.
And I think partially you're sleepy, and I think partially this topic
slept
was
like a rock.
frustrating you.
Well, I think also
losing
I
interest.
needed that like I just needed that moment. I needed something to penetrate and like hit my brain in a different spot to be like, whoa, easy now. Like, good to be strong in your beliefs. Good to be like super concrete and like some foundational things. But hey, maybe I
Like
needed,
me calling you out?
maybe I needed a jab a little bit, you know, so that I can more appropriately come into the topics moving forward.
Yeah, I hope you give that one a
Fair.
thought. And it'll be a tough one for you to analyze because you'll need specific situations, right? But I think
Yeah.
the place for you to look is you always go into the whole well, we go on tangents and we just argue there for a while. You're right. We do go on tangents and we do just argue. And it's in those situations I've noticed that you've made up your mind. And that's why we argue. Because I try to go 4 different ways to explain it to you, see if we can change it all. And that's my retort. And you're like, no, man, that's just not how that works. I'm like, okay, it's not a lot to go on.
Yeah.
Let me try this one instead.
Yeah.
And it frustrates you because you see me like going at it from every spider monkey way.
Spider monkey.
Right? And you've just said no.
Right. Man, I'm that concrete, huh?
Yeah.
That hurts. That hurts.
Which just to give
That's good. I mean, it's good to know, but that sucks.
At least in my opinion. I'm not saying that's everyone, but
no,
because I'm the only one that really debates with you on stuff, and we have to go into intellectual topics, right?
Right.
And I would say, just keep this in mind as a rule of improv: you cannot shut someone down in improv. It ruins the situation. In improv, the rule is you always say yes, right? Obviously, don't just agree with stuff for nothing, but make sure you leave something open-ended so someone can work with it. Right. The moment someone on stage says, "Oh, would you like this?" No. This skit dies. There's nothing you can do with it. So the rule is always you say yes. Or you find a way to keep it open-ended.
Yeah. Either way, learned a lot. That hurts. That sucks. I'm definitely going to...
Don't let it hurt. Like, there's nothing wrong.
Oh, it does, man. You know, I don't want to be closed-minded. I don't want to be, I always want to be introspective and open-minded and considerate of all perspectives. But, it's okay. Maybe
I love that for you.
In the realm of podcast topics where we don't go through like the kind of format that we usually do, and it's more of a back and forth debate, I don't know. I might have some like unrecognized or unrealized emotions surrounding that I need to work on that don't necessarily. Yeah. That's where I was
conflict
thinking.
Can't be productive, but it can be.
Yeah.
As long as
I think I see it as conflict, and I see it as like it strikes a memory for me that I don't like very much.
Yeah, it really upsets you.
Yeah, and I think that it makes me like just change. Like it just makes me like it tenses me up, or it makes me kind of like you said, closed-minded or more absolute, more than like.
Look at me over here.
Right.
I love debating.
That's fair, man. Yeah, okay, good. Like I said, if this episode never airs, if it does air, great. Either way, I learned a lot from it.
You know what, though? I'm glad I did it with you, buddy.
Yeah, dude, that's what I was actually getting ready to say, man. As I was meaning to tell you how much I appreciate you, because I'm looking around at the people in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm really noticing that I'm really narrowing down the kind of people that I like to have in my life, and I'm like reflecting back on the people and just the life that I've lived previously and how I've presented myself and carried myself previously, and like how many other people, and maybe you have a lot, I haven't, but maybe how many other people have you sat down at a table and like been able to be vulnerable like that and be able to call somebody out and calmly get across the statement or like talk about how you feel and somebody be receptive of it, and somebody really analyze it, take accountability for it, and be like, you know what, maybe you're right. Or, just be with a group of people or have people in your life where you can just be your true, genuine self. Your true, genuine self. And everybody, I feel like for the most part, is going to be like, oh, yeah, of course I can. Can you? Can you really be your true, genuine self? Can you sincerely call somebody out like you just did to me and have faith and be confident that they're going to receive that in the way that you want them to receive it, because of the way that you expect them to know you and know what your intentions are, and know that it's not demeaning, and know that it's not them coming down on you, but to know that it's you coming to them with genuine intentions because of how well they know you and because of how much you care about them. Like, do you really have people like that in your life? And I'm realizing that, yes, I do. And so I appreciate you, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you for the same reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we have close relationships.
Yeah.
But going into that group of people, there's still only a select amount of them that can actually handle feedback properly. Right? Like, I'm surprised at the fact that I actually have a lot of deep conversations with random people.
I have done that too. Like, it was just like a gas station or something. Like, hey, man, how are you really?
Yeah.
I've done that before, and people like just break down and cry.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
I get that stuff all the time.
Sure.
But how can you do that with people that you're close with? That
Right.
I don't want to start
This is just a good example. I think I'm going to edit this. This is going to have to get posted. I just got to figure out how I'm going to title it and how I'm going to introduce it. Like, maybe like here towards the end, we can kind of figure out some way to introduce it and be like, hey, this didn't go how we planned, but we think there's some good substance here.
Buddy.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on this situation?
My perspective on the situation is that, I change what I said. I think, not every hardship, not every butting of heads, not every counter statement to what you believe in has to be an opportunity for growth in the immediate initial moment. Sometimes you need to just exist for a minute. Sometimes you need to take a step back. You need to zoom out and then zoom back in.
Sure.
Still perspective for sure. I think that, every opportunity.
It's just a perspective on it.
Yeah, it's the perspective. It just doesn't have to be right now. Like, I needed to take a second. And when you said that to me, I needed to zoom out. Because and maybe my initial statement was like a bit closed-minded. Maybe it was a bit,
I actually will rephrase this a little bit because I think I found a better analogy for this.
I love it. If you've got something, go for it.
Not every situation or in that immediate moment has to be a giant journey of learning. Sometimes it's just like lifting a weight. And you're fatiguing that muscle just a little bit. You're giving it the exercise it needs. By you simply saying, I need to sit down, I need to rest for a moment, you're practicing a skill or a behavior that's healthy or reasonable.
Yeah.
And that's just,
okay.
Right? You're not going to pick up 3 times heavier weight next time. You'll be able to a little bit better at it.
Yeah.
By just lifting that weight, right? And that was my entire point the entire time. You're practicing and you're exercising something.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're an Olympian at it now.
Right.
But you did just a little bit better. And that's the point, right? And then if you choose to make that into a journey, that's on you. That's fine. But sometimes you just did your workout and you moved on.
Yeah.
That's it. That was my point the whole time. I think that was a better analogy than maybe the oil change, so to speak.
It's valid. Yeah.
Right. And that's goes to my rest of my point, right, is that you can't just observe it. Because no matter what choice you make, you're exercising a behavior. And you're making that stronger. So if you choose to be upset about it, you're exercising that that's okay.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes you can just say, you know what, it's just time to rest, and I'm exercising the ability to choose rest.
Right. Or to be upset about it. Giving yourself that space to be upset about it, just not to stay upset about it,
You're taking things in a much more healthy manner, and that's what I meant by perspective, right? You choose what muscle you want to exercise, what ability you want to exercise, the skill. If you choose that, you know what, I need to go drink a bunch and smoke now, you've exercised poor judgment.
Fair. I'm so glad I just drink sparkling water now.
Yeah, I'm pretty much back on it too. I've moved away from my diet soda too.
Yeah, well, it's just like, ugh. If I'm going to have soda, I would just rather have soda, right? Some people, though, do prefer the taste of like Diet Coke over regular Coke.
It's the aftertaste I'm good. I don't want. Because they use high fructose corn syrup now.
I feel like they've done that for a millennia, haven't they?
No.
Really?
It's in like the last 15 years.
Really?
Whereas people choose Mexican soda for a reason. It's just cane sugar.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, so I think there is opportunity in every situation to grow, but how you go about it, it's okay to give yourself some time before you dive into it, to just have some space and breathe and calculate before you go into it,
I think the analogy would be, not every situation has to be going for your max weight, your max power clean.
Yeah.
Sometimes
not every rep has to be a PR,
Yep, personal record. You're just doing your workout. This is just a Saturday evening workout. You'll be better in a few weeks. You'll be stronger in a few weeks for it.
Yeah.
Right?
Not every mountain bike ride is a bike race.
Yes.
Not everyone's timed.
Yes.
Sometimes you're just riding and enjoying the views on the mountain. Speaking of which, I had a fantastic ride yesterday.
Did you really?
Oh,
I figured you did. I didn't hear from you much.
Gorgeous. Well, I didn't have service. That ride, unfortunately, which worries everybody, even Ellie was like, hey, you're back.
I try not to ask.
I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't have any service. Like, I'm done riding now. But it was like you said, it was forever. I rode for 3 hours probably.
More than I did.
Yeah, and man, the views were just gorgeous, and it was so awesome. Like, I just got to sit up there with my buddies, and I just looked around at all of them. I said, not much better than this, is there? They're like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, just consciousness, man. Just sitting up here and existing in this moment. We all get to exist together and this moment in time belongs to all of us, and no one can take it from us. And we're just up here on top of this mountain.
Good for you,
in
man.
the middle of nowhere with the wind kind of just blowing nice and calm, and like the saguaros are just sitting on the hillside, and the sun's starting to set. We're getting ready to take our last descent to the end of the ride.
Good for you.
And it's just beautiful. That's why I like riding so much. Like every time I ride, there's at least one part where Devon just gets all philosophical and introspective and just looks around and is like, man, guys, like, thanks for experiencing this moment of consciousness with me, and thanks for being part of my journey, you know? So
I agree.
Cool, man. Well, I think
this episode went off the rails a little bit.
This episode was an opportunity for growth for me, I think. And if we're really honest, if I'm being honest with myself, I'm doing this podcast and I like it so much because of how honest I feel like we are with the viewers. I don't think we're not sitting there like cutting out and like, I now that I'm better at editing, and now that we're a little bit better as far as like sound wise, like we've got sound down, we've got our cameras down, I'm not really editing the podcast that much. Like I'm sitting there and like clicking which frame is in right now, like whether it's focused on you or me or both of us. But like I don't edit anything. Our podcast is just our podcast, and I think if I want to stick to that and be true to that, you know, this is what we're trying to encourage you guys, the viewers, to do is to have these conversations, you know, be introspective, be open-minded, be vulnerable, because it's the best way to live, I think.
I was going to say this episode started going off the rails, but turned into something really, really good.
Right. Like I learned a lot. I don't
know if we taught you guys anything,
right?
If you got anything from it, but I think we benefited from it. And that's the point of a podcast for us, is to explore our mental health and see where that takes us, and hopefully leave this room better people.
Yeah, leave this room better people, man. You know, sit down at the table with maybe something we didn't realize needed worked on, and leave it with having worked on it.
Our voices shouldn't always be voices of like attempted authority. We don't know what we're doing all the time, right? We're just trying to figure out what we're doing ourselves. And hopefully if that benefits you, if you can.
Yeah, I think watching that unfold and watching that happen, right? Because even you've mentioned before that, like, in our shorts and like in our other content that we post on social media, you know, I'm usually the one saying this like deep, introspective, super like, whoa, you know, statements. And, you know,
I get the one that's like me going.
I know what video you're talking about. That's not going to make sense to the viewers, but I do know what you're talking about.
I was scratching or something, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. You know, watching it unfold and watching somebody like me who maybe, you know, because I've done that in my life, right? Like I've watched people who just like seem like they have it all put together, and then it makes me feel like it's discouraging for me. And it makes me feel like, in the past I'm saying, it was discouraging for me, and I felt like, wow, like I can't ever get to that point, because that person just seems like they always have the best things to say, and they always have the right things to say, and they always have their shit together. And like, that's not true. That person that you're thinking of, as I talked about that you look at and think of that way, it's not true. They're like this, and they have moments where they have to recalculate and redirect all the fucking time. Well, and I do too.
Well, let me flip that script on you. You are that to someone else.
Right, that's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
Is like, why I hope, like you said, that you don't know that we taught the viewers anything. Like,
who knows,
I think that watching that unfold, and maybe me being that person on the podcast that's always usually saying something super deep that hits you and like makes you feel that weight in your chest, and now I'm sitting here and I kind of like fell apart, to be honest, in this episode. Like I for lack of better words, kind of just melted into a puddle and had to like be like, oh shit. Maybe I am coming into these a little closed-minded. Maybe I am coming into like these debate-style podcasts with a matter-of-fact like mindset, and maybe I've been, you know, triggered a little bit because the back and forth like reminds me of conflict, and it reminds me of times in my life that I don't like, and I don't want to have those again. But maybe it's like, take a deep breath. That's not what this is.
Why don't we use this as an opportunity for the two of us?
Yeah.
To call ourselves out on it and go, you know what? Maybe we are more closed-minded than we both believe. And we both need to work on it.
Maybe. I mean,
I'm not going to sit here and pretend my mind isn't like made up on things at times, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, my mind was made up on that. I'm not like trying to get out of taking accountability for that. This episode, dang, dude, I needed this banter. I needed this interaction. I needed to have I needed to brush up against a different perspective so that I could make sure that I'm not too caught up and too concrete in my own. It's good to have some solid beliefs. It's good to be pretty concrete in some things in your life and what you believe and how you feel, but, you know, got to keep it loosey-goosey, baby. Like Jack Black from the School of Rock movie. Loosey-goosey.
Loosey-goosey.
You're looking a bit robotronic.
Robotronic.
Robotic. I think he said robotronic because he's Jack Black and he's goofy. That's a good movie.
Hey, man, this episode was good, and I hope you guys got something good out of it.
Yeah.
Whether this was our best or our worst episode, who knows?
Depends on your perspective.
Yeah, I guess it looks at best. That's your perspective. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
We hope that you still tune in, like, subscribe, give us your thoughts, comment down below, tell your friends about us.
Yeah.
If you're our friend, then tell your friends, please.
Yeah.
And hopefully the next episode will be a little bit different in format, maybe back to what we're normally used to.
Yeah, but we're trying this out. I think this went well.
Yeah.
And
give us your opinions, guys.
Yeah, please just tell us. Send us hate mail if you have to. Just talk to us. We love hearing from you guys. We always sit down. We sit down on the couch. We read these emails. We read these things that you guys send out to us. We've gotten
some pretty intense emails lately, and we thank you for opening up to us. That's wonderful, But yeah, say subscribed, like, comment, and share. And I am Fareed.
I'm Devon.
And we'll see you guys next time.
See you next week. Later.
Yes.